Welcome to another edition of the Food and Farm Show. I'm Cheryl Noble.
And I'm Gil Dominguez. Today we're coming to you from the home of the Garden Goddesses right here in Alta Sierra. This is a fascinating group of women that love the earth, love to garden, love getting together, and today is one of their monthly meetings where they'll be discussing fermentation.
And later in the program, I'll get a chance to chat with Susan Gouveia, who is the founder of the Garden Goddesses, and why she started the group, how big it's gotten, and what their plans are for the future.
But first on our show today, we'll be visiting Lyn Muth at A to Z for part one of her workshop on spring planting.
Be sure to watch us every week on the Food and Farm Show, which is shown on NCTV, Channel 11 and Suddenlink 16. You can also watch us anytime you want on our YouTube channel, which is the Food and Farm Show. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and get in the conversation. And if that gets all confusing, you can find us on our website. That is thefoodandfarmshow.com, and we break it all down for you.
So we have a lot more ahead here on today's program, so don't you go anywhere. After the break, we'll head off to A to Z to hear all about part one of spring planting with Lyn Muth. You're watching the Food and Farm Show on the Touchdown Productions Network.
Introducing Gouveia leather kitchenware. Kitchenware that lasts a lifetime. Made from genuine leather suede, Gouveia kitchenware comes in a variety of colors and has been featured on the Food Network. Leather is the perfect kitchenware. It is a natural insulator, washable, and non-flammable. Gouveia leather kitchenware, chefware, and tableware. Unique kitchenware to complement your favorite place. Create, entertain, and be you.
Briar Patch Co-op Natural Foods Community Market offers organic produce from over 30 local and regional farms and buys organic produce throughout the year from River Hill, Four Frog, Sweet Roots, Johansson, and Naked Farms. You can trust the Patch to hold their producers to the highest standards and always be certified organic. So get to the Patch, the Briar Patch, for organic produce.
Anything Green Hydroponics is your source for hydro systems, grow lights, and soils. Anything Green offers a complete range of organic nutrients as well as fungicides, miticides, and predatory bugs. Don't forget the Anything Green Propagation Workshop on Saturday, March 30th from 1 to 2 p.m. Learn how to propagate seeds, cuttings, and grafting. It's all at Anything Green Hydroponics.
Be sure to join us each week right here on NCTV Channel 11 at 6:30 to 7:30, and of course on our YouTube channel, the Food and Farm Show.
Welcome back to the Food and Farm Show. As you know, the groundhog has predicted an early spring, and it looks like he might have been right. So now we're turning our attention to getting our soil and our plants ready. So let's hear from Master Gardener Lyn Muth as she gives us some details in her part one of her spring planting workshop.
Well, hello and welcome. Welcome to my workshop on early spring vegetables or cool season vegetables. I am Lyn Muth. I am an employee here at A to Z Garden Center. I'm also a master gardener, and I have a small landscape business where I do design and consulting and pruning, which I've been doing all winter, which is a fun thing to do, especially when you have arthritis. A lot of people don't know that there is a difference between cool season vegetables and warm season vegetables. We live in an area where we have 4 distinct seasons. Sometimes they may be intermittently scattered through each other seasons. Like, you know, we had what, 70-degree weather last week, and now it's 40 and supposed to snow tonight. But cool season vegetables have the distinction of growing best in 55 to 75 degree weather. If it gets warm while you are trying to germinate some of these seeds, they will not germinate. If you buy starts that have already been started, they will bolt to seed and become very bitter. The let me back up. You want to transplant your seedlings around 6 weeks prior to last frost. Depends on your climate zone. We were just talking earlier briefly. We had a frost, and we've had it for the last 3 years on June 4th or June 5th. So it's really kind of hard to know. I just start thinking about cool season vegetables in February if I didn't plant mine in October or November. Winter gardening is really different. It's really kind of lazy gardening because you don't have very many weeds, you don't have any pests. You may have aphids, but you don't have all the other pests that you have. We were talking briefly earlier, there are actually more cool season plants than there are warm season veggies. People think about summertime and, ooh, growing things. Well, you can also grow things where we live in the wintertime. Now, if you're further up the mountain, you can't grow these. We are zone 7A and 7B here. Penn Valley is zone 8. And the zones are real important to know about because that determines when you can plant and when you can't plant. Our first frost is usually early to mid-November for Grass Valley. And that's when I plant and protect them. There are things that you can use to protect these plants once they're getting started, just as they're getting started. You can use row covers, harvest guard, which is a polymer fabric that you can throw over your little plants. But once a plant is established, you do not need to protect it from the cold. Cool season vegetables have the distinction of having using salt as using sugar as antifreeze. They are better when it's cold. Let's take chard, okay? Chard, really yummy, very tasty in the winter. In the summer, can turn very bitter. The sugar keeps the plant from freezing. It comes up into the leaves and makes the plant very, very sweet. In the summertime, the heat causes that sugar to go down into the roots and encourages the plant to bolt to seed. When you plant, let's say, broccoli and it starts getting warm, you'll see it coming to fruit, to flower real quickly. Yeah, you don't want to eat it then. It's really, really bitter. You can use a product called Agrobond. We don't sell it here. They sell it at It has they have 2 or 3 different thicknesses of Agrobond. There's a lightweight and a harder, heavier weight. 1 layer of our harvest guard is good to keep it warm for 5 degrees warmer. 2 layers keeps it down. It will keep it warm down into the teens. This stuff is amazing. It's like we don't have any. I think we're out of it right now. It looks like tissue paper, but it's much sturdier than that. So that's something you can do if we know we're going to have a really, really hard freeze. I start my own veggies. I don't put them out until they're at a pretty good size. Anything we have outside in the yard right now is good to withstand any kind of cold temperature that we have. Although in the greenhouse we have tomatoes and peppers and some squash for those people who think they can go ahead and plant now. And we tell them, very good, you go ahead and plant now. We'll see you back here in about a month and we'll sell you some more, because those tomatoes are not going to grow. Tomatoes and warm season vegetables need soil temperature of at least 70 to 75 degrees. It is nowhere near that warm right now. Good indication of what the soil temperature is when the daffodils start blooming, it's 40 degrees in your soil. Somebody's nodding their head at me. Right. So, but every yard, every property is a microclimate. My neighbor across the street has a big 3-story house. The sun reflects off of that. Her daffodils have been blooming for 3 weeks now. Mine are just coming out of the ground. They're about so big. Mine's more in the shade. In fact, the snowbank was around until last week sometime, until late last week. So that's a good indication. But when we're talking about temperatures for plants to germinate, we're not talking about the ambient temperature. We're talking about the soil temperature. I'm such a geek, I have a soil temperature thermometer, and I chart it all the time because I'm very curious about that sort of stuff. Pardon me?
How deep? Are you just talking about the surface?
I'll go down about 4 inches. Yeah, the first 2 inches of soil, 2 to 3 inches of soil, really fluctuate with the day and the ambient temperature and what time of day. You know, I can take it in the morning and then take it late afternoon. or maybe like 3 o'clock in the afternoon when the sun's real intense on it, it will shoot up. But when they say 40 degrees, that means consistently 40 degrees. We had those warm days that raised the soil temperature up, but remember it was very, very cold at night. So the temperature it raises it up and it goes right back down again. But these vegetables don't want it to be hot. They want to thrive. Onions want to be planted when it's cold, and they will then come to maturity when the weather warms up. They're a long season. They are a spring planted or November planted, and then they don't produce until probably August, September is when I can expect my alliums to be mature. I'm growing leek and a cipollini onion. Those are those little flat ones. Have you seen them? They're kind of shaped like that. I'm going to pickle them. I can't wait. I'm real excited. Growing them from seed is really fun. It's tedious, but it's very fun. Root vegetables are great winter crops, but they do not like to be transplanted, like beets, carrots, turnips, parsnips. Those are all cool season crops, but you can't transplant them. I mean, you can, but they don't thrive as well. So they have to be sown directly into the soil, into well-prepared soil. It's a real timing thing with them, because again, soil temperature for any of those things to germinate has to be about 55 degrees. It's a little too early for that. So you just have to really hit the timing well on those and just put them in the ground. I'm probably putting mine in the ground toward the end of March. Hopefully I'm putting them in the ground. Master gardeners used to say that Mother's Day was when we could plant warm season things. It's been early June for me in these past couple of years. So remember, it's all about the soil temperature, not how warm it is and beautiful it is out on your patio on a sunny afternoon. It may be 70 degrees, like I said earlier. At night, it's probably going to drop down into the 30s again. So it's got to be consistently above 40 degrees or above 55 degrees for all of these to germinate. If you plant into the ground right now, these seeds would rot. They would just disappear. You would not see them. Except for lettuce. Lettuce and onions want that cool temperature. Lettuce is very, very cold loving. They are developing some lettuces right now that they like the hot weather, and they won't bolt in hot weather. So you'll see them on the seed packets when you're looking at them. I mentioned briefly these Harvest Guard and Agribon that you can buy to put over to protect. Those are also called season extenders. Another good thing that those do is if you've got them like on little hoops or even on big hoops and you spread this over there, it keeps a lot of the insects out that will start coming up when the weather starts getting warm. The bad thing about it is that you have to open it up every now and then to let pollinators and things get in there. But you'll see less of the insects if you do use those row covers. I like to use them when I've seeded something because I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot of birds. And when those little seeds start coming up, where do the birds go? Right to get those little seeds. They say, "Thank you very much." And they'll just munch them all up. So that's one good thing it's about. Yeah, do you have a question?
So this temperature right here, 55 to 75, that's soil temperature? Okay.
Yes. She asked that, which one is that on?
It's the stapled one.
Yes, this one right here. On the one that says cool season vegetable crops and perennials. They grow best when average temperatures are 55 to 75. That's soil temperatures. Okay. Season extenders I mentioned briefly. Do not ever put plastic on any plant you want to protect from the cold. If you were to lay it on it, it would directly conduct that cold right into the plant and it will kill it. So you want to use the Harvest Guard, Agribon, an old sheet. I found a great use for dust ruffles. I use those to throw over things because who wants dust ruffles anymore? I'm glad that was a fad that went over the way. So if you look at this one, the cool season vegetables, crops and perennials. It mentions briefly in here what you can plant. Potatoes, we start typically St. Patrick's Day, kind of a cool thing to remember them by. Potatoes can be planted St. Patrick's Day. They've got to have excellent drainage. If they don't, They will rot and disappear. You will not find them. I plant mine in smart pots. Those are those fabric pots that are selling so popularly now. But here gives a list of them. And if you can figure out when are weeks after last spring freeze and weeks before last spring freeze, you are a genius. Because it's like, okay, I just kind of know the time of the year when to plant them. All right, now if you're planting things, I'm going to plug some products here. This starter fertilizer is an amazing product, and as the Dr. Earth rep said, you don't feed grown-up food to babies. This is baby food for your plant. See the little numbers here? Where are those little numbers? Come on, little numbers. Where? Oh, here they are. See those little numbers? 242. Okay, this is why I want to briefly get into NPK, because it's so important to the success of your garden. See these little numbers here, 242, and look over here. This is for when your crop is in and when your crop is growing. Look at those big numbers over there, 573. This is grown-up food. This is for your grown-up plants. This starter fertilizer has small numbers. It's kind of a diluted form, and if you'll notice, the middle number is the larger of the three numbers. Now, these three numbers, the first one is N for nitrogen, the second one is P for phosphorus, and the last one is K. K is the chemical name for potash or potassium. It's K20, and they just called it K. Now, nitrogen, and I've handed you a paper that talks about it. Plants need nitrogen to make themselves. It helps them create their own DNA. And without it, you would not have green leafy growth. No nitrogen, your leaves turn yellow and the plant is stunted. Too much nitrogen. We had a guy come in a couple years ago and he says, "My tomatoes are 20 feet tall." And we're like, woohoo! He says, "But I don't have a blossom on them." And I said, "What did you put on them?" And he said, "Oh, my buddy's got some horses and I just loaded up all this horse manure in there. It's all nice and composted." I said, "Yeah, a lot of nitrogen." He's like, "Yeah." And I said, "And no phosphorus." And he's like, "Why do I need phosphorus?" I said, "For tomatoes." That's what makes the middle number, the phosphorus, is what helps with root growth. In an immature plant, it helps with root growth. In a mature plant, phosphorus helps with with blossom development. See this big number on this one? What's the name of this title? Bud and Bloom Booster, right? And look at that big number right there, that 10. So once it's started, once you've given it its baby food and it starts getting big and starts growing, then this is really good for vegetables. If I want something to really produce, in the middle of summer, I will start adding this to my veggies because I want those blossoms to pop. And this stuff really works well. The cool thing about his fertilizers, and yes, I am a devotee of Dr. Earth, the cool thing about his fertilizers is that you can make teas out of them, which are really almost instant. These are slow acting fertilizers, so they'll be in the ground and acting for 2 months. If you want it to hit quickly, you make a tea out of it. It takes 24 hours. You pour it on it. You can see something in 5 days. But keep in mind, here we're going to go back to that 40 degree. That seems to be the magic number, 40 degrees. No fertilizer is active in the soil until the soil temperature is 40 degrees. Seems to be a magic number in gardening. So if you put fertilizer down in your bed right now, it's just laying there waiting. But when it warms up a little bit, it'll start activating in the soil biology. Where were we? Phosphorus. Phosphorus helps, like I said, in immature plant, helps with root development, and in a mature plant will help with blooms and fruit set. Then potash, the last one, the last number. Potash is, I kind of call it the vitamin that helps them all work together. It helps with the assimilation of all these nutrients in the soil. Our soils have potash. If you're working with clay soil, God love you, because it's not a really nice thing to work with, but you can amend it with lots of organic matter, composted organic matter, and get it up to running. So have all of you gardened before? Do you guys have all veggie gardens? Do you have veggie gardens? Do you garden in raised beds? Do you garden in pots? Do you garden in the ground? What?
Raised beds.
All of the above.
All of the above? Yeah, me too.
I haven't had good luck in the ground, even though I augment the soil.
There are things on that sheet of paper, that single sheet of paper that I gave you, that tells you what you need to work into the clay to get it working. We sell a product called Soil Building Compost. There's 3 or 4 different brands of it out there, but the Soil Building Compost has gypsum in it, along with a lot of other nutrients, and the gypsum acts like little millions of shovels. It breaks down the clay, and without putting gypsum into your clay soil, you could make pots out of it. In fact, I have before. Yeah, nice red pots. So, but just remember, to break down any clay soil, you need gypsum. Okay, and compost. Compost is real important. Compost is organic matter that's really going to help any of your soils to be healthier. Remember, keep this in mind. If you are gardening in a bed that you gardened in last year, it's just like vitamins. You have to take them every day for them to do any good, right? Well, every time you garden in your raised bed, you need to replenish the nutrients. Now, one way to do it is with soil testing. You can either do it yourself, you can bring it in here. I do it for $5 a soil test. Dig down 6 inches, bring me half a cup, or use your own half a cup and test your soil yourself. Without a soil test, you are shooting blind. You don't know what's going on underneath that little crust of dirt. You really need to test your soil. So many people will, oh, I don't need to test it. I'm just going to throw this in there and throw that in there. Well, do you make a cake that way? No, and that's pretty much what you're doing in that soil in there. You are making nice, healthy soil so you can grow nice, healthy plants. If you don't do that, it's kind of a waste of your time. I mean, you can assume that you've already used up all the nitrogen and all the phosphorus. But again, you're wasting your time because you might have put an overabundance in manure in last year, and it might some of it still be in there. So soil testing is the way to go. I've got some at home right now sitting on my kitchen cabinet, and it's just pure old clay, and the water is the color of his vest right there. It looks like orange juice. Love Nevada County. Yes?
When we had soil delivered last year, we had an excess, so we covered it with the tarp. Does that also have to be augmented?
I would. Yeah. And particularly where you got it from. Some of our soil... Oh, good. Some of our soil brokers are not equal to other soil brokers, and since we're being filmed, I will not be slandering anyone tonight. I don't want a hitman to come and get me. Yeah, but yeah, I would soil test it just to be on the safe side. I soil test all the time. Another thing good about these soil tests, the pH level is really important. Some vegetables, and this one, this bigger soil test, has a chart inside that tells you what the pH level requirement for each vegetable and each fruit is. If you're trying to grow blueberries, how many of you are growing blueberries? Have you had any success? Good. Blueberries need a pH level of 4 point to 6 point. Our soil is typically around 7 point. So if you put blueberries in that soil, what's going to happen? Nothing. Not a darn thing. The plant will eventually die. So pH level is real important. A lot of people put coffee grinds into their compost. Be really careful when you do that. Coffee grinds are terribly acidic, and they will bring your pH level down just critically. So be really careful with doing that. Do you guys all have compost piles and your little bins and all of that, stinking up the neighborhood? And yeah, mine's right on this, out by the street. I can really smell it. But soil testing, again, really important. Yes?
What do you mean by be careful? How much is being careful?
With your coffee grounds? Yeah. Make sure that you have other things that are going in there. I mean, you know, if you were like my mom and dad who drank 3 pots of coffee a day, they had an abundance of coffee grounds. That's too much to go into your compost pile. But if you put that in there, then you're going to need to put maybe some alfalfa in it. Make your greens and browns equal to, you know, so that you've got the 3 mixes. Yeah, that's what I mean. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes.
In a raised bed, taking, say, a 4x8 raised bed, when doing soil testing, do you need to test various areas of the bed or just one area? area.
Just one area.
6 inches down.
Yeah, 6 inches down. Yeah, I would think so, because it's pretty typical. This soil test I was doing, the guy took one sample from the front of his house and the back of his house, and they were exactly the same, because it was just the good old clay that we have up here. Yeah, makes great dye, incidentally. Yeah, especially if you got white tennis shoes. You're either from Georgia or from Nevada County, one or the other, right? When you're adding nitrogen, let's say, there are all kinds of organic ways that you can go, and I want to caution you on something that I've been getting some bulletins on from UC Davis about manures, because some of the manures are toxic. The E. coli in them is not cooked out of them, so to say, and it lives for a long time. And if the horses are eating hay that's been treated with any of the neonicotinoids, which are some really, really bad systemic pesticides, it goes into the hay and it stays in the hay. It does not compost out. So be really careful where you get, if you get it from a friend, find out what they feed their horses. Now, we did do research on the deworming compound that horses are fed, and found out that that goes through and does not attach itself to any plant that might be growing in it. So that's not anything to be alarmed over. It's just these pesticides that are so prolific right now and so scary. The thing about the neonicotinoids, are commonly called neonics. They're in so many products, and they're systemic. The main products are systemic, and I won't name any companies. You would probably know them if I said them. They go into the plant root. They are pulled up in through the plant. They go into the blossom of the plant, and when the bees fly into the blossom, the pollen is toxic, infecting the bees. They are beginning to link this with colony collapse disorder. It's not going to be the only cause of it, but they're beginning to think that it might be a leading cause of it. What it does, it causes them to, their central nervous system, they lose their sense of direction. They can't find their way back to the hive. Those that do go back to the hive with lowered resistance, they cannot withstand any of the pathogens that are in the hive, and they die. So we have been called out, I say we as the United States, by the European Federal Safety Agency because of the excuse me, the testing that was done in America by the companies, which I find that strange that you would have the company do the testing. They're not going to rat on themselves. But the European Food Safety Agency called us out on faulty tests and shoddy research work. Yeah. Now, I'm also going to mention a name. You're going to write this down if you haven't already before. I get these bulletins through my email. Well, I have to check everything out through UC Davis. There's a website called IPM. Are you familiar with IPM? Integrated Pest Management. If you garden, you need to be connected. Integrated Pest Management. It's an amazing site. It is so filled of information. When I got this information about these neonicotinoids, I got the names of one of them. One of them is imidacloprid. And I went on the website, went into the section where the pesticides are, and they have a page, and it tells you what the toxicity is to the water, what the toxicity is to human and animals, and what the toxicity is to bees. Well, the imidacloprid is highly toxic to bees. What do you think they put around the almond trees down in the valley? Yeah, imidacloprid. And then the bees are, you know, the bees come from all over the world to go, or all over America to go down into the valley. Yeah, and they've been, these neonics have been banned in France. They've been banned in England. They've been banned in Sweden. Have they been banned in America? Of course not. So, I'm sorry, I will get off my soapbox. But I just am alerting you to this, to be aware of if you have to buy a pesticide, read the label and read it thoroughly. We do not dispose of these correctly. We don't use them correctly. We overuse them. One report I read said that the homeowner uses something like 70 times more pesticide than they need to use. So be cautious. The IPM website will also tell you alternatives to use so that you don't just quick go grab that glyphosate or go grab that imidacloprid. They tell you things to do, how to control any pests that you might have, how to use other measures. Like, you know, you see aphids. Oh my goodness, go get the bottle, spray, spray, spray. Did you know you can get rid of aphids? You just blast them with water. So the thing about you need to do is constantly being monitoring in your garden. If you have an automatic drip system, that kind of keeps you disconnected from your garden because you don't have to worry about watering it. You know, you go out and you collect your tomatoes if you've got them, and you collect your green beans. But if you go out every day, every morning, and look at what's going on in your garden, you're going to stay ahead of those insects and those pests and those hornworms that come in there and want to eat up everything in your garden. And the IPM website will tell you ways that you can help prevent any of these things from attacking your garden and taking it over. I discovered this summer that I had an infestation of spider mites on my French green beans. I was very upset. I went to the IPM website, and on that website it told me that spider mites are caused by dusty, dry conditions and that I should water my green beans every morning. Not water the green bean, the plant. I did. I went out in the morning and I went out in the afternoon. I got rid of my spider mites. I thought that was pretty phenomenal because what else was I going to do? Neem oil is fairly safe. So the safer products are pretty good. There are things out there that aren't as toxic as these other things that should be taken off the market. So, okay, yes ma'am.
The last dozen years I haven't had the hornworms, but this last year
I remember that you were inundated with them.
What changed? I mean, as far as the environment that brings them?
They're in the soil. And did you plant in that same spot? The crop that they were on, the tomatoes, did you plant them there last year?
No.
Interesting. They're in the soil, and there is a product you can use that is non-toxic to humans. It's called BT, short for Bacillus thuringiensis. It only targets caterpillars. You can use that, and it doesn't, it won't harm anything else. One thing that I do with tomatoes, I keep them up off the ground. I cut their leaves off about a foot. And when I plant them, I'll cut the bottom out of a 1-gallon pot and sink that in it, around it, into the dirt so they can't crawl up. And if you keep the leaves about a foot high, they live on those bottom leaves. So if those leaves are up off the ground and there's a lot of circulation there, you're not so likely to get them. Okay? And if you do see them in the daytime, they're always on that bottom, like 6 inches of the tomato plant. Okay? One good thing about that tomato hornworm, I don't know if you guys know this or not, this kind of the yin and the yang of that awful tomato hornworm. The tomato hornworm is the larvae for the hummingbird moth. And the hummingbird moth, they only come out at night. If you ever see one, your first thought will be, that's a hummingbird and it's dark. What's it doing out? They're the same size. They're not as colorful, but their markings on their wings are absolutely beautiful. They're a very important nighttime pollinator.
Thanks, Lynn, for that great information. You can see part 2 of her workshop on spring planting right here on the Food and Farm Show next week. After the break, we're going to visit with Susan Gouveia, and Cheryl will chat it up with her and learn all about the Society of Garden Goddesses. You're watching the Food and Farm Show right here on the Touchdown Productions Network.
Briar Patch Co-op Natural Foods Community Market offers organic produce from over 30 local and regional farms and buys organic produce throughout the year from River Hill, Four Frog, Sweet Roots, Johansson, and Naked Farms. You can trust the Patch to hold their producers to the highest standards and always be certified organic. So get to the Patch, the Briar Patch, for organic produce.
Introducing Gouveia leather kitchenware. Kitchenware that lasts a lifetime. Made from genuine leather suede, Gouveia kitchenware comes in a variety of colors and has been featured on the Food Network. Leather is the perfect kitchenware. It is a natural insulator, washable, and non-flammable. Gouveia leather kitchenware, chefware, and tableware. Unique kitchenware to complement your favorite place. Create, entertain, and be you.
Anything Green Hydroponics is your source for hydro systems, grow lights, and soils. Anything Green offers a complete range of organic nutrients as well as fungicides, miticides, and predatory bugs. Don't forget the Anything Green Propagation Workshop on Saturday, March 30th from 1 to 2 p.m. Learn how to propagate seed, cutting, and grafting. It's all at Anything Green Hydroponics.
Be sure to join us each week right here on NTTV Channel 11 at 6:30 to 7:30, and of course on our YouTube channel, The Food and Farm Show. Welcome back to The Food and Farm Show. As I said at the top of the show, we are here at the home of Susan Gouveia, the founder of the Society of Garden Goddesses, and their fermentation workshop that's taking place here today. Cheryl Noble had a chance to catch up with Susan and tell us all about her organization.
Thanks, Gil. I'm here with the Society of Garden Goddesses founder, Susan Gouveia. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Cheryl.
Thanks for being here. And let's start at the beginning. How did this start?
Well, 4 years ago, I was looking for a group of women that liked gardening, and I had trouble finding a good fit. And so I came up with an idea of putting a group together that loved art, gardening, all spirituality, nature. And
how many women were there at that time?
At the first meeting, I had 13 women.
Wow.
And it's doubled ever since then. So I'm up to 450 women and men now.
I know your Facebook page has over 2,000 people, so you've got a lot of followers, and you've grown over the years. What are some of the things you do with your group?
Well, we have lots of cooking demonstrations.
Do you meet once a month?
We meet more than once a month now.
Okay.
Last year, I was a little out of control with my event planning, and it was like 5 or 6 events a month because I was having so much fun learning all this cool stuff about gardening and cooking and fermenting. And
I can see how it would snowball because you just get more ideas, and let's get together to do this. And well, earlier in the program, I know that you did a tour of your gardens, so let's take a look at that now and see what you got going.
Okay, so basically it's a tour of a garden that has had no attention over the winter.
All right.
So I just wanted to see what popped up without any effort whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
So
great. Let's take a look.
This struggling little plant, actually no, it's not struggling because it came up on its own. It's called Mache, M-A-C-H-E, and it's a buttery tasting, I don't know what it is, a lettuce, I guess.
Is it stringy? Is it like jumping?
It does. It does that.
I think I have that everywhere. I thought it was a weed.
Oh, it's really good. So feel free to take a little piece of that.
Okay.
And that's an easy one that reseeds itself as well.
Is this a kale or a cabbage? Or?
It is a kale.
Kale.
A kale that needs to be fertilized.
Okay.
It's pretty stunted. This is a weed that I'm sure you've all seen. I think it's like a chickweed. And it's really high in, I think it's omegas. Don't quote me on that one. But it's I put it in my smoothies and in my salad. So it's a tasty little thing, and it's abundant, but a lot of people just look at it as a weed and put weed killer on it, and it's a great little plant. I grew a lot of garlic, so I can harvest the greens, and then harvest the garlic scapes in the springtime. They do these beautiful flowers, and you can use the flowers in your salads. They're like little mini pieces of garlic cloves, and then you can chop the actual stem up, the garlic scapes, and saute them and put them in stir fry. I'm partnering with Habitat for Humanity right now. The Garden Goddesses were asked to make the community gardens for the Habitat for Humanity sites. So that's a really exciting project. So this is going to be kind of our demo garden, and it's going to be, we're going to have all kinds of stations like worm composting stations, composting. We're going to have a food prep area, and basically going to teach kids all these skills. And it's going to be our demo garden for the Habitat, and then we're going to teach kids cooking, and we're going to feed the seniors in the neighborhood.
Wow.
So a lot of the seniors where I've been feeding, and I just kind of want to bring it to a new level and get the kids involved. And it's been a really good project for the kids and the seniors. You know, people are really spread out here and they need some attention, and the kids need to learn how to love the neighbors. And so we're going to have a team of permaculturists come in and say, you know, talk about rain harvesting and how we can maximize watering, you know, without a whole lot of irrigation, and working with the natural elements. And I need to do a little more.
Is it the root? You eat the root?
No, it's like the stalk.
You eat the stalk,
and it's just delicious.
You peel them.
Oh, they do that in
Italy,
right?
Your hands turn black, so you need gloves.
Oh, I didn't know
So you
that.
peel them down with a potato peeler, and then you saute them up.
Oh my gosh,
They kind of taste like potato, right? Or
potato
consistency of
artichoke.
potato?
It's more like artichoke. It's yeah, and the aftertaste is really sweet.
These are wild nettles. It's an amazing superfood. So you can make tinctures and teas, but you know not to touch them because they have these little hairs on them that are like silica hairs that are filled with this. What is it? It's some kind of acid. And it's very uncomfortable. But you can pick them with gloves and you can saute them. That's what I'm going to do, is saute them. Here's my Nepalese cactus, which I've planted everywhere around the yard because they make it through the snow, they make it through the heat. I love sauteing them with eggs and putting them in licuados, and what else? I grill them. So they're very tasty. You just have to, they're a little tricky to harvest because they're all the spines on them, but you use gloves. And they're filled with all kinds of vitamin C. This is my prize cabbage. It's my first successful cabbage that actually came to a head, so I'm very proud of that. I should just pick it for our demonstration today. This is sage. That'll come back. Yeah.
Okay.
I have 50 fruit trees. We just had our pruning demonstration, and that was really fun. And my greenhouse up there has all my citrus trees in it and my worm composting projects.
So how can you collect the worm castings?
Wow.
Look at that.
So this just needs to sit for another couple months, and then I might just dump water through it. So it's got like a strainer so I can do the tea. So like I said, this is an experiment and we'll see. And I have little shoots, little squash shoots coming up, so maybe I'll transplant those.
That just come up from the seeds from your
compost, yeah.
And
I find those are the strongest. So I always take my volunteers and plant them or leave them.
Do you ever get weird, like, cantaloupe, cucumber hybrids?
Not yet,
You
but I'm
haven't?
sure I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are funny. You're like, wow.
Are they good to eat?
No.
These are my lasagna garden beds. All along here, I layered the hay, oak leaves, alfalfa. So I basically layered browns with greens and created a compost system about that high with layers. Put some fertilizer in it, like the organic foothill fertilizer, and then it compacts after the rains. You know, it's best to do this in the fall, and then it has all winter to decompose. And then you top it with the rice straw, and then you just pull it away.
That's a good idea.
Pull it away in the springtime, and you can just plant directly into this really lush soil. And look at that, that's just leaves and hay that I put in there. So, and that can happen in a couple months.
Oh, that's nice.
Decomposing process creates heat. Yes. And so you can have, you know, a lot of plants thriving in this sort of heated compost pile.
All right, let's go back and
Thanks for the tour. So now, what are your plans this year for your garden?
My biggest plan is transforming that garden down there into a kids' garden. And it's going to be a demonstration garden, and it's basically the template that we're going to use for the Habitat for Humanity community gardens.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, so kids definitely need to be in touch with knowing how to grow their own food.
Right.
And so we're going to have all different kinds of stations like worm composting.
Oh, fun. They got to like that.
Farm to kitchen table, composting station, seed planting station. So I'm really looking forward to it. And the food that comes from the garden, that I'm going to teach the kids how to cook. And we'll feed the seniors in the area.
Oh, what a wonderful idea.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, we'll have to come back out to see how that's going. And in the meantime, you've got a workshop today which is on fermentation, and we're going to learn about lactose lactobacillus, something like that. So it's all good stuff. And lots of krauting, I understand.
The kraut cods arrived today. I'm so happy.
It's all good stuff on fermentation. So let's take a look at the workshop now.
Okay.
Hi everybody, and we're here with the Garden Goddesses today, learning how to do sauerkraut. And we're going to begin by learning how to do the appropriate cabbage cutting method. So we're going to start by cutting our cabbage in half. Is everybody watching? We're going to cut our cabbage in half, and then we're going to notice that there's a little heart there, or a little core. And we're just going to, whatever method we like best, we're going to cut that heart out. So,
be careful with those big knives. It's hard to cut them down. David wants to get rid of the big one, and I have a little one to get.
Cool. So now that we got our heart removed, a really good way that I like to do kraut is to just cut it into, once you've already halved it, you cut it into another fourth, and then you can just come across and like so. Cut it in thin strips.
Okay. Ben, how soon would you like these carrots? Should we take off the moldy part here?
Yeah, if your outside leaf is a little funky, you can put it in the bullet bowl, so to speak, compost bowl. And the carrots you just want to coin them thin. While we're going to, if anybody has any questions about sauerkraut, that would be a really organic way to provide some fun information about kraut.
Is it the same as kimchi?
They're a little bit different. So brassicas, the brassica family of vegetables, actually comes from the coast of Great Britain, and then over time it was carried over to China, where like a lot of Chinese brassica varieties developed. So there was a kind of a cross-pollination where the vegetables were carried through trade over there, and then over time the Korean people developed their own way of making sauerkraut, which was a way of preserving the vegetables. Yeah, so
would it be the same process?
It's a similar process. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to mash up our vegetables and then put it below a brine, and that brine is going to act as a preserving method, and will create an environment where lactobacillus, a bacteria that's ubiquitous in the air, will come and will basically make a home in the substrate that we're creating here through the cabbage, and that's going to create the sour flavor. Lactobacillus is like a milk-loving or sour-loving bacteria, and so the sour taste we taste is the lactobacillus in the cabbage itself. These days, I know that a lot of people are having some trouble with digestive issues or maybe some inflammation, and sauerkraut can be a good way to bring health back to your belly. Our gut naturally thrives with an environment of lactobacillus, actually. That's our natural synergistic bacteria. So it makes a lot of sense, and it feels right to bring those bacteria back into our belly, especially if you've had antibiotics or if you've had any kind of situation that would affect the natural ecology there. It's a way to regenerate. So if everybody wants to watch, because everybody's going to get a turn at least once, but what we're going to do is just come with the oak mallet and mash it. And then Donna here, or whoever it may be, will come and... So this is by far the fastest way to create kraut. And ideally, if you want your kraut to be most delicious, you extract the juices from the vegetables itself. You don't add extra water. So we're just going to keep on mashing until the cabbage is immersed in its own juices. And then we'll transfer it to jars and cover it with our purple leaves. That's it. I'm going to add salt too. Salt will help pull the juices out, and it will act as an extra preservative.
So you never pour water over it, it's its own thing.
No.
It's just extracted out of the leaf. All you add is salt?
That's it. Yeah. So, yep. And People always ask about, oh, how much salt, how much salt. You just do it to taste, or you really just need enough to bring the liquid out. So you kind of just keep on kind of coating it and mash, keep coating it, mash, keep coating it, just little sprinkles, and eventually it'll be like submerged in its own liquid.
Any type of salt in particular?
I really like sea salt or Himalayan salt.
Can you make it out of purple cabbage too, the whole thing?
Oh yeah, sure.
Is it okay if the ginger goes in?
Yeah.
It's mashed? Okay, great.
Ginger. Not just yet. I'm gonna get it mashed up. It's really high in the bucket, but after a little bit of mashing, it's gonna really mash down in there, actually.
I'm sure Casey knows. How did you make your stick? Is it a special kind of wood?
It's oak, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm using sea salt. Yeah, I've just whittled it. Yep.
So you just went out and found the best branch that you liked? Is that what it is?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And that's just oak.
It's oak. So if you have a lot of cabbage in your garden and y'all get together and do a kraut party, this is the way to go. If you're just making a little bit of kraut in your kitchen, you might just have a fun little masher in a bowl. You know, you just need enough to fill up a quart jar in your kitchen, but if you're doing a big party, this is the way. Do you want to try?
Okay,
I'm excited for you to.
Oh, okay. This is heavy.
It is heavy, yeah. So if you use your body instead of your arms,
you can feel it in the core.
yes, it's a core. It's a core exercise. Yeah.
You really can get a workout.
Yeah, it's a really good workout.
How do you know when it's done?
It gets really liquidy.
Oh, I see. So we've got a long ways to go.
Minutes-wise, we're actually really close.
Anybody else would look at that?
Yeah.
It's a workout.
All right. And so, especially if you go with the not use the arms, but the kind of the body.
It's a cardio.
Yeah.
It's a cardio workout.
If you can just kind of hold it with your hands, but then use your body to. Yeah, it's easier and it's more effective, huh? Music, yeah.
Like hot and sweaty.
Oh,
All right, this is fun.
It is. Oh my God. 1, 2, 3.
We used to have,
I don't know what to do.
It's working really well.
is not vegetarian, but she was raising a Ho-Chunk sheep. And so the ones that were calls, we would weather them, and then they would end up in the freezer. And my daughter's not like my sister Hubert, we were having blanket layers.
Cool. I'll add some more veggies in there.
It looks like a rain.
And it got to the point.
Look how fast we're going. We're almost done cutting everything. This is absurd. You're up, Dana. Don't mind me.
Forget making wine grapes.
Yeah.
Very meditative.
And a good method again is to hold it with your arms and kind of go up and down. Don't use your back and don't use your arms, but use your body, you know, from the core. If you do it like that, you can do this for hours. But if somebody just uses their arms or their back, they burn out in like 5 minutes.
Like this?
Yeah, kind of more of a up and down.
Okay.
Going from the core. Even a teaspoon per half gallon will work fine. It's really just about what your tastes are. But the function is to bring the liquid out, to help preserve, and to help it taste better. I generally don't worry about sterilization. You know, it's good to have clean knives and good to have clean cutting board But there's a really neat thing about sauerkraut, which is that when you put your vegetables below a brine, you're attracting lactobacillus. And lactobacillus are really one of the more powerful bacteria on the planet. So, and we have a natural synergy with them. So there's really nothing that's going to infiltrate that environment that's going to overpower the lactobacillus.
Okay.
So it's just to say that it's one of the safest ways of preserving vegetables and making them more healthy, because those lactobacillus, like if you took some lactobacillus from your sauerkraut and put it in a petri dish and tried to put like all sorts of crazy salmonella viruses, some kind of thing from Jupiter that's supposed to wipe out the earth, lactobacillus would take care of it.
The swine flu or the bird flu? Or
Anything. Try it against lactobacillus, and lactobacillus will win out. So that knowledge gives me a confidence that anything that's below my brine is the safest thing in my kitchen at any point. Much safer than anything in my fridge, much safer than anything that's been preserved. And it's really no big deal to top off your kraut jars with water if you need to keep it below the liquid level. Just to top it off a little bit is no big deal.
Doesn't have to be purified or anything, just regular tap water?
Oh, it actually distilled spring water, well water. Anything with chlorine in it is no good. Oh. Yeah. We're finishing up our batch of kraut. We've mashed up all of our vegetables in this bucket with a big mallet, and now we're packing jars full of the kraut and using a cabbage leaf to keep them below the brine. And we've really had a fun time doing our batch of kraut, and hope you've all enjoyed watching. And again, my name is Liam. I work at the Fix for Foodies in Nevada City, and I have my website, vibrantlivingHolistics.com, and do a lot of local education, holistic health coaching. Really enjoying. And keep krauting, please.
Yes. Now it's time for our weekly giveaway. This week we've got the full DVD set of all the keynote speakers at the 3rd Annual Sustainable Food and Farm Conference. It contains all 4 hours of the keynote speakers, and it can be yours for simply being the 3rd person to email us at foodandfarmshow@gmail.com. And this could be yours.
That's all the time we have here on today's show. Thanks for stopping by and spending some time with us here.
Be sure to watch us every week, Monday at 6:30, NCTV Channel 11 and Comcast 16. You can also watch us 24/7 on our YouTube channel, which is the Food and Farm Show. And you can also get in the conversation. We're on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and you can also get all this information on our website at thefoodandfarmshow.com. So see you next week.
Bye.